All right, welcome back to All Sports BPT. You got me and Phil here. Today joining us is Chad Luensmann, pitcher for University of Central Florida and from Bellwood, Pennsylvania. How you doing, Chad?
Good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
I feel like we got
So
an influx of people from Bellwood recently.
yeah, we had Nathan Davis on. Now we got Luensmann. I think they breed them well over there.
Yeah, apparently it's like a talent factory in that little town.
Yeah,
We got some good sports down there. We got good tradition.
yeah. So Chad, just give us a little update about everything going on with you and baseball right now.
So this year in March, COVID cut our season short, and that was actually my fifth year as a grad, and then I grad transferred from Nebraska to Central Florida. So that cut our season short. So the NCAA, they did grant a 6 year of eligibility if guys wanted to use it. They gave everyone their year back. I chose not to, so I've been throwing and working out and staying ready, and hopefully sign some sort of free agent deal here coming soon, or a chance to play independent ball.
Nice. That's good to hear. What's that process like? Kind of just working out, waiting. Not really knowing when that call is going to be. What's that mental state that you have to go through every day with that?
You just have to always stay prepared. You can't waste any days. You have to use each day to get better in some way, and just take each week you got to be closer to being 100% ready to go, because there could be some sort of pro day or showcase at any time, and you kind of have to drop everything if you want to get seen.
Yeah, and then in terms of your preparation every day, are you working with a coach? Do you have like a team of people around you that you work with? Is there a lot of like independent stuff?
I do a lot of stuff on my own, especially in the gym. That's all put together by my pitching coach, and I see him once a week, and now I'll start seeing him 2 to 3 times a week as we get closer to kind of being at 100%.
Yeah, and with everything going on, obviously, the MLB season was crazy last year. It was just kind of put together. It almost felt like last minute that they were able to have anything. Is there going to be a little bit more certainty going into this season? Do you know about spring trainings or anything like that?
The only thing that I've heard is that that minor league spring training is going to be held after big league spring training. So that kind of puts half the guys there. So the major league guys can get started. Then the minor league guys can do their spring training, and they'll get their season started a little bit later. But it'll still be more than this year.
Yeah. So how are you feeling? You had the Tommy John surgery a couple of years ago. How do you feel? I know a lot of people, and I know you see a lot of pitchers nowadays that they go through something like that and they still come back and they look pretty good. Have you felt pretty good, after that whole thing?
Yeah, it was just kind of something to get adjusted to. And you really have to learn to like trust yourself to throw on it again 100%, knowing that it's surgically repaired and it's good to go. But usually guys coming off TJ aren't really themselves, and till about 18 months or in that like second season after it, which I found to be true. I struggled my first year back, but in the summer and fall after that season, I started to feel normal again.
Now, you started off as a closer at Nebraska, and then you shifted to becoming like a starting pitcher. What kind of adjustments do you have to do mentally? I think a lot of people don't realize those finer details between, being a reliever and being a starting pitcher.
I guess the biggest thing, like mentally being a closer, if you're on that night, you have to just bring it for 10 to 15 pitches, and that's what you got to get 3 outs, and that's your job's done. So you can kind of really expend all your energy in one big shot. But when you move to the starting rotation, they're relying on you for 15 or more outs. So not that you should take it easy, but you kind of have to be mindful of like budgeting that, and be able to it does happen over time that you build your stamina and you build your endurance. But that's definitely something you have to be mindful of. And even the way that you attack hitters changes, because you're going to go through the lineup more than once. So if you're gonna have to probably see everyone at least twice, if it's a good day.
Yeah, and then on that note, what are kind of examples of adjustments that you would make after you see a hitter the first time?
Well, it really depends on if what you did the first time worked or not. It really depends on how they're seeing your pitches, the types of swings that they put on your pitches. If they're completely fooled and they're not really sure what you're doing, like you can keep doing the same thing over and over again. But if they square you up and they barrel you, you might want to think about taking a different route that next time. But it's really dependent on what you see from them.
So Chad, kind of going back to what kind of pitcher you were like in high school, and then making that transition into college ball. What are some of the things that they do with you that actually makes the difference in you becoming a better pitcher? I don't think a lot of people realize what it is that really goes into pitching. Obviously they think about, oh, you just throw the ball hard. But what are some of the things that, your time at Nebraska and then UCF that really, something they really did that helped you progress to become a better pitcher?
Just in terms of the transition from high school to college?
Yeah.
I would definitely say that you have to figure out what kind of pitcher you are, especially that first time, those first couple times in a college setting. You're going to have to stick to your strengths. There's a reason that you're on a college roster, and you're going to pitch to your strengths. And as during the week and during practices and throwing bullpens is when you get a chance to like develop those other things. Because most freshmen come in and are, if there's a spot for them to pitch, it's usually in a blowout, or if you're down big, and just getting freshmen out there to see what they have and what they can do. But when you're thrust right in there, you're gonna go with your strengths. And I think to know your strength, you have to know what kind of pitcher you are. If you're a power righty, if you're a lefty who throws a lot of changeups, you're not going to see many guys jump from the high school to college level, with a complete 3 or 4 pick, command of 3 or 4 pitches, that are going to go out there and give you 7 innings. And not to say that that's not possible, because I've seen it. That's just not something that's super common.
Yeah. Now let's, staying with this right around high school area for you, you were drafted. What was that for you, thinking back to that time? What did you have to do to think about, going to Nebraska was the better decision than accepting that draft pick and, going into the major leagues at that time?
I think the main thing for me was I wanted to honor my commitment to Nebraska. So that was number one. But number two, when you do like pro showcases and play in some like pro style, events with major league scouts watching, you're still playing against, kids in high school and, that are headed to college soon. So I think a lot of people look past the caliber of player you're going to face, when you get thrust right into minor league ball, because that's like every college team's 3 or 4 hitter out there. All those guys were good in college. They were drafted, or they signed out of high school because they were legit. But just getting the chance to like go, have the college experience and get more time to develop and get more innings against quality competition in was a big reason.
Yeah, and what's that process like? I know Major League Baseball has probably the biggest draft out of any of the sports. So what's the mindset of someone that gets drafted maybe in like a top 10 rounds versus, later on in like the 40s or the 50s?
Well, the biggest thing I've heard is based on how you're treated. So say if you're a top 3 rounder and you sign and you go to I guess it'd be rookie camp before you're sent out for your season, and the difference between that and someone's draft in the 20th or late, it's really about the money they have invested in you. So those top guys are taken care of pretty well, and if they have that kind of money invested, they want to see a return on that investment. But the guys that are drafted 15 and later, they really have to grind it out and prove themselves. Not that they don't think that they can do it. It's just that you're going to get a little less pampering, I think.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you decided to make college hard on yourself though by doing mechanical engineering as a major. How was tackling a major like that while having a full workload of a Division I school?
There was times it was hard, and times that it was easier than you think. There's still 24 hours in a day. And you just have to, like, I think I told, or what our academic advisor, just asked me to talk to some of the younger guys that are kind of getting into tougher majors. How do you handle that along with a full-time baseball load? And I really told them, there's a lot of times in the day where you get a half hour, you get 45 minutes, between a class, between workouts and eating, or before practice, and you have to take advantage of all those times. And you might not want to sit down and work for 45 minutes, but there weren't many times that I was doing, homework at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, just because you can take advantage of all that free time that, you might just waste doing something for a half hour. Taking advantage of that time really, really helped me.
Yeah, it's almost like treating school as a bit of a job rather than just school, because it's all about time management, especially when you're an athlete.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we finally get to welcome Tolly Beatson onto the show.
Hello, boys. How are you doing, Chad? How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
So we've been going through all the questions here with Chad. So if you have anything for him, just shoot away.
The biggest question I have for you, Chad, is how do you hit dingers? I mean, as a European, we don't know how that works. I mean, we play cricket, we don't play baseball. So if the ball's coming at me in the air, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, my hitting career wasn't long lived. But when I get in there, I'm taking daddy hacks. I'm not trying to hit singles.
That's the most entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. If I get a chance to hit in any sort of game I play now, I'm trying to hit the ball out of the park.
Nice.
So I'm not getting cheated in my swings.
So here's something that I do want to know. You use metal bats in college.
Mm-hmm.
What's that difference in terms of like how you want to pitch at guys compared to what it's going to be like, going up against guys with, the wooden bats, if you make it anywhere in the pros?
It doesn't necessarily change how you pitch, because you're still trying to miss the barrel regardless. Like, you're trying to get them on the handle or on the end of the bat. The difference between metal and wood is just, metal is going to give you that couple extra feet. Some of those blue, hits are hits, and with a wood bat, the second baseman is able to, run back there and get it. That's really the only difference. If you get barreled with wood or metal, it's not going to matter.
Yeah. So But where is the spring breaks down in Florida, right? Or the spring training?
Yeah, there's a lot of spring training facilities down there and in like Phoenix or out in Surprise.
Now, do you have an agent like signed to, help you through this whole
No.
process?
No, not at the moment. But I know my brother's agent has offered to help if I need it.
Now, what's your brother doing right now?
He plays baseball South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay, got it. I forgot where he went. I knew I had heard about it a little bit ago, but just could not remember that. But Chad, thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.
It was good to hear about all this baseball stuff going on, and we wish you all the best with your training, and hopefully we see you on a roster here coming up in the upcoming season.
I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks for coming on.
Talk to you later,
Yeah.
Chad.
Thanks,
Yep.
Chad.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yep. Thank you.
Good
Yeah,
luck, Chad.
That's I thought that was definitely funny hearing about the daddy hacks at
yeah.
at the ball, but it definitely was interesting hearing the mindset of a pitcher, and the differences, especially with him going through a lot of different adversity through his career. The Tommy John surgery, and then moving from a closer to a starter. That's definitely he's been through the ringer in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, before he had Tommy John surgery, he was freshman of the year in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So, he's definitely got, that special spark that a player would need to have in order to make it and play professionally, whether it's in the major leagues, the minor leagues, or independent leagues, because, it's still, I mean, those guys are still amazing players. And it's cool to see someone, another person from around the area that's able to kind of make this their profession, make sports a profession.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching him play back in the day, and even in high school. I mean, it was incredible watching someone of that age throwing the ball that hard. You just don't see that often.
Yeah, you got like a junior in high school that's almost hitting 90 miles an hour on the radar gun, and that's just, I mean, that's like otherworldly. I mean, I don't know, Tully, how fast a cricket hurler throws the ball, but I feel like 90 is pretty
a
fast.
hurler? Did you say? Oh my goodness, you Americans! Bloody hell! I need to culture you. Yeah, if you stand at the crease and someone bowls the ball at you, you're definitely going to know about it. I mean, yeah, they travels at a similar speed, and obviously it bounces too, so it's kind of hard to judge where it's going. But honestly, I like baseball. I think, strangely enough, everyone says baseball is a boring sport and it's slow. But if you're wanting to watch a boring sport, there's no more boring sport than cricket. I mean, I loved playing it. It was good fun, and I still do love it. But it was funny coming to the US. Baseball is almost a more entertaining version of cricket, which is quite.
I mean, I think that was the plan.
Yeah,
when baseball
honestly,
was invented. Honestly,
can't watch this anymore.
Yeah, and cricket has too many complicated rules, so we decided to make our own complicated rules instead.
Yeah.
So, guys, let's move into some of the biggest news from this past week. With okay, never mind. What do you guys want to talk about?
All right, let's talk about the news.
Okay.
Oh no, let's not.
Okay.
My dog got a haircut this week.
Actually, you know what? Let's talk about it.
Okay. So big moves. We finally get the Tubby Man himself. James Harden is on the move to the Brooklyn Nets. I think my biggest question about this is Kyrie Irving ever going to show up again?
Well, when you said the big chubby man's moving, I thought you meant Shaq was moving away and going to NBC or something.
No. That's Charles Barkley.
Yeah, he's a big man. I don't know. Let's hear your thoughts, Phil. I want to soak it in before I give my analysis.
Yeah. All right. So first off, I think James Harden got what he wanted. He left Houston. He's on a team with other players that are up to what he considers his caliber. I mean, Brooklyn absolutely gutted the franchise in order to bring him over. They traded any semblance of defense that they had left, and they said, we don't need that. What we need is to score 150 a game, which I think this roster might be capable of that, frankly. But when they play teams that have scoring threats against them, they're also going to give up 150. So we may see, some new records being set, especially in the COVID year, of just the most ridiculous score lines, thanks to the Brooklyn Nets. In terms of Kyrie, does he play basketball anymore? I'm not sure. The latest report that I saw is that he's expected to meet back up with them as long as he doesn't test positive for COVID when they play the Magic coming up here shortly. So it is possible that we will see Kyrie Irving back on a basketball court within a week. I don't know if it's because James Harden is coming there. I don't know if it's because he's finally realized that maybe he wants to play again. It's hard to tell, but he is the most woke person in the NBA, and he can do what he wants.
Well, I'm going to go ahead straight to James Harden. It's a hard situation, the James Harden, because when you try and look at it from his perspective, I mean, it's difficult to do. But I suppose if you don't want to be with a franchise, then you should have the option to move on. I mean, the way he did it was terrible. But I mean, if you really sit back and look at it, let's go through it. He went to the Rockets. He wanted Dwight Howard. They got Dwight Howard. They wanted Russell Westbrook, his hometown buddy. They got Russell Westbrook. He wanted John Wall. They gave him John Wall. I mean, I don't understand what more the Rockets franchise could have done for him personally, because everything he asked for, he essentially received. He was like the kid on Christmas at a spoiled family. He got everything he wanted every single year, and it still wasn't enough. And that's what annoys me, because he's going to the media and saying that it's about his career and he wants to build his legacy and get to a championship. But if you look at that team, he had a few championship-esque teams where if he dropped down, gave the ball away a little bit more, and kind of sacrificed a bit of himself dribbling the ball and defended a little bit more, I think they could have done a lot better. And then on the flip side, he goes to a team that has Kyrie, who's a similar kind of player to James Harden, has to have the ball. Otherwise, he's essentially useless, or more useless. At least James Harden has his size, which Kyrie doesn't have. So it's a weird situation, because he's moving away from a team where he's going to have the ball all the time to a team where there's a person who's a better scorer than him. I mean, people say he's the best scorer in the league, but personally, and I think you both would agree, Kevin Durant is the best scorer in the league and potentially ever. And Kyrie has probably one of the best handles in the league I've ever seen, especially in the recent years. So, I mean, his minutes with the ball are going to drop dramatically. So it's all going to be about how he can sacrifice himself to defend so they can win a championship. And I can't see him doing that. And the same with Kyrie. I mean, moving to Kyrie, I can't see him sacrificing the ball either. I mean, he moved away from Cleveland and moved away from LeBron because he wanted to be the man and the star and run the show. He went to the Celtics, had a team that he could have been the man and run the show, didn't do it. Now he's moved to the Nets. We saw last season. I mean, he kind of doesn't have that leadership mentality. And it failed. And now I think the franchise have realized, all right, Kyrie's a bit of a bail. We need someone else, and they've gone for James Harden. And on Kyrie's activism, just quickly, you see it with LeBron James and you see it with the other athletes. I think the best way to lead is from the front. So I think if he wants to push those agendas, he has to do it from the court. Boycotting and being out of the limelight from what everyone knows you to be, an amazing basketball player, I don't think that does your cause any favors, because it almost silences your voice.
Yeah. This is one where I knew it was going to happen at some point. It was just a matter of time for the Nets and the Rockets to involve other teams and to, get everything worked out as good as possible with the other teams to keep them happy. The thing that worries me about this is that none of these guys that are the big three now have ever done it on their own. They've never taken a team to the championship on their own. KD had to go to the Warriors.
You don't think KD's Warriors run counts? He was
Oh,
playing
no.
by himself out there, man.
Yeah. Kyrie couldn't do. I mean, honestly, I think without LeBron, Kyrie would have been an upgraded Jamal Crawford. I mean, he's not like throwing up gaudy, assist numbers.
No.
At least Russell Westbrook can like dish the ball out to his teammates.
Get rebounds.
Yeah, I mean, he's inefficient. He chucks the ball up. KD's efficient. I will give the ball to KD every single time, and I know he's scoring at least 50% of the time. Kyrie, he's like 30 to 40% chance that you're going to score. So I don't like this in that sense, and I don't think Kyrie's going to like what's going to happen here, and that's because he's going to become Chris Bosh. He's going to become pretty much like a spot up shooter in this new offense. So the Nets had to do this because if Kyrie did stay out the rest of the year, this was not a team built to go to the championships. I think it's better built now, but it's still not something that if they lose in the conference semifinals or finals, I wouldn't be surprised. They'll still win their matchups, but I'm just not confident with them.
Yeah,
I wonder if they trade Kyrie
ahead.
Irving.
But
I'm honestly, it might be a tough sell, but what they need is solid role players. They don't have any. They got rid of all of them. They got rid of their up and coming talent. Levert's gone. Allen's gone. They're probably their two most promising players, obviously besides KD and Kyrie, but they have no support. They have no defensive presence. They have basically one big man, and that's the ghost of DeAndre Jordan. But I understand why they did it, because Harden wanted out. They had an opportunity to get an MVP. And usually, the rule of thumb is if you can get an MVP and bring them to your team, you do it. But Harden's a special case. Kyrie's Kyrie. KD's probably rolling his eyes thinking, what did I get myself into? Because like Tolly said, I do believe that he's the greatest pure scorer in the history of the NBA.
Agreed.
Nobody has ever been more of a threat from 40 feet and in as KD. And frankly, his Achilles injury didn't hamper him because he's so tall, and his mobility was never the most important thing to his game. So he was able to bounce back from an Achilles injury. And frankly, if you watched, he doesn't look any different than he did before he got hurt, when he was destroying everyone when he was on the Warriors. So KD's probably looking at this like, I'm back. I'm good. It wasn't 100% sure that I would be able to come back to my best. I did. And now I'm stuck with whatever this is going on in the Nets.
Yeah, it's funny one. The only thing is though that lots of people are pessimistic about this, and to think they're either super team or bust, and most people think it's a bust. But the one positive side that I have on this is that James Harden is a good addition to Kevin Durant. I think it kind of gets the ball away from Kevin Durant and kind of frees up the floor, because you're not going to leave either of those two, even with a couple feet of space, anywhere outside the 3-point line. And the thing is with Kevin Durant as well, if you look at him back in the Warriors, he actually gave up quite a lot of the ball. I mean, he wasn't the person bringing it up every time. So he's proven that he can sacrifice himself for the team for a championship. And that's why they were so successful, because Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant, they sacrificed for each other, and it worked out perfectly. I think James Harden could do that better than Kyrie, and that is where the issue remains. And I think everyone has picked out the red mark that needs to go, because Kyrie is going to make or break this team, I think, and by making it, I think they'll have to move him on. And it's going to be, one, yes, a hard sell, and two, to get the caliber of player or the caliber of players to kind of benefit that team, it's going to be extremely difficult, because you don't want draft picks, because KD and Harden are almost too old to be bringing these kids up and playing with kids. They kind of want some established players. But I mean, I don't know who they're going to trade for, and they have no other assets. I mean, if you look at their bench and you look at, I mean, they have DeAndre Jordan, a skeleton, as you said. Apart from those big three, there's not much kind of gravitas or anything that they have that's tangible to be traded.
Yeah, maybe they try and get. I mean, you might be lessening Kyrie's value or underselling it, but maybe you get a Bradley Beal type player.
I don't think they'll take that. I think Bradley Beal, especially at the moment, is too good for Kyrie, personally.
Yeah.
He's leading the league in scoring right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that's the only type of player I can think that would even fit in. You know, you're looking at off-ball superstars basically, and
Yeah,
they're not going to get anyone super young, because no one's trading a young established superstar for Kyrie Irving right now.
Mm-hmm.
now if they and they're not going to trade him. You know, that this is just not something they're going to do. And if they did, it wouldn't be until the off season. But the thing that is worrying me about them is that this is potentially setting up the Nets for their second biggest blunder in the past decade. And you know, it took, like, the Boston Celtics are the Boston Celtics right now because of the Nets in that trade. And now I'm kind of getting worried that the Rockets are going to turn into the new Rockets because of the Nets. You know, I saw something today, and it said that the next time the Nets own their own first round draft pick will be whenever Kevin Durant is 40 years old.
Wow.
Is it 2028 or something like that? Like
2027.
Yeah, it's a while down the road, and like, your franchises, this is it. Like, this either works or they're screwed. And I guess they were willing to make that risk, but yeah, I mean, the Nets are just, it's going to be interesting. If they win the championship, then I think everyone applauds what they did and says, you guys were right. Because something you do is, if you have a chance to win now, you do it. But
here's the thing.
I don't know.
Here's the thing throughout all of this. Let's just, you know, a hypothetical here of one of the LA teams versus the Nets teams. You know, which team are you going to pick in the finals? You know, I still don't feel confident about the Nets, and this
LA
is,
all day.
Yeah, the Nets are set up. The Nets, their starting lineup is great. They have Kyrie, Harden, Joe Harris, Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. Their bench is, well, now since they don't have Spencer Dinwiddie because he tore his ACL, they have Bruce Brown is their best guard that they have on the bench, Jeff Green, and then they have a bunch of like rookies and like first year players. I mean, like they have like that Tyler Johnson who used to play for the Heat. He's on their roster. I mean, it's just a bunch of nothing. And I think you're gonna see this isn't gonna be the last thing that they do. I still think they're gonna go after George Hill from the Thunder, which the Thunder are gonna get another draft pick or something.
Well, the Thunder, I mean, they're one of the winners of the James Harden trade, because they somehow managed to increase it. They didn't get another pick, which I thought was what happened, but they increased the chance that they get a higher pick, because now they have the pick of 4 different teams with all the pick swaps that have gone on. So whoever has the highest draft pick in 2021 of like the Rockets, Thunder, Nets, and Pacers, I believe the Thunder just get that pick. So they've somehow managed to get a better pick out of this James Harden trade. And I mean, it's kind of a joke to say, oh yeah, the Thunder, they'll trade whoever's on their roster for a pick. They don't care. But I mean, honestly, if the Nets offer a 2027, 2028 first rounder for George Hill, why not at this point, right?
And honestly, it probably would be for the best interest of the Nets if they tried to get Al Horford too. I mean, they need bench production, and I think that'll definitely take them over the luxury tax limit. But
Oh yeah.
You're looking at this as like a 1-year commitment, and if you're really talking about going for this championship run, they got to do something about the bench. Maybe I don't know. I feel better about this situation than I do. Like when we look back at the original, big 3 of the Miami Heat, where all these players came together to one team. The Heat didn't have jack squat that first year on the bench or anywhere else. I mean, I think Mike Miller was their best role player at the time. And then they started to add other players, other veterans and stuff like Shane Battier and then Ray Allen. But they don't have that time right now. They're doing this all mid-season. So, they've got to really make that decision of where are we going with this team, and do we think that this starting lineup can carry us enough that we don't have to address our bench?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a hard sell in the offseason to convince people to come to Brooklyn. But right now,
not at all.
They're looking pretty barren.
Yeah, and they're going to struggle in a playoff run, as you mentioned, with that lack of a bench. Because look, I mean, James Harden and Durant 100% are going to need a rest, because I mean they're getting to the latter stages of their career. Obviously, they're not there yet, but they can't be like. I mean, they're going to have to produce incredible numbers every single game for them to win. And they're all going to. They're both at least, maybe all 3, Kyrie and Durant, are all going to have to all get over 20 points every game without fail.
Which, I do think this is the greatest 3 players on a team skill-wise that we've ever seen. But, well, you think about the skills. Like, when you think Kyrie has the best handles of all time, KD's the best scorer of all times, and then Harden is the most unique player of all time.
Flopper, everything.
But the thing that I think they have to address first and foremost is Tubby getting back into shape.
Oh, yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, James Harden's been eating too many of those wings and steaks at the strip clubs.
Yeah, he's been with Ben Roethlisberger for too long.
But I think that's a good segue to jump into a little bit of the NFL action. Talk about how the
Would you
Steelers
like to
got.
get a tissue?
I got my crying out
Okay.
throughout the
Phil,
week,
are you
so
okay?
we're good. We're good for now.
Yeah, I actually wanted to kick off NFL with a question for you, Ben. Do you
Mhm.
feel like the Steelers underperformed this past weekend?
They underperformed in the first quarter. Had they not given a touchdown on the first play and then proceeded to give up another 21 points after that by Big Ben throwing 2 interceptions and then them just driving on a play. But when we look at all of this, it's a big difference if when we look at this, the score was 48-37. And if they don't give up that first quarter, the Steelers win that game. I think the Steelers are already starting to address a lot of the problems that happened in this game. Now, they're going to have some big questions on their plate this offseason with, are they going to bring back Big Ben, or are they kind of going to force him to retire? Because he's going to have a $41.6 million cap hit on the team. And do you really want your 38-year-old quarterback taking up that much money? No. And then it sounds, at least in the preliminary stages of this, that Marquise Pouncey, their all-pro center, is going to be retiring as well. So now the Steelers have 2 positions they really need to address. And I think they're going to address, they can at least address the quarterback situation by signing someone else that's going to be a free agent or by trading for them. I think Aaron Rodgers and Matt Stafford are both going to be available this offseason. So, do the Steelers go and make a move? It's going to be a lot different than what they're used to doing. The Steelers aren't known for making big splashes in free agency or the trade market. But I think if the Steelers want to stay relevant, they have to make a move for a quarterback, because they cannot rely on Mason Rudolph or Big Ben if they want to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to be a tough one, though, isn't it? I mean, Ben's legacy in Pittsburgh is something that's not matched by many, if any, at all. I mean, he's been a massive figure in Pittsburgh, and you know what? It could actually shake up the team and kind of relight the fire in Pittsburgh and Pennsylvania for football.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone was so passionate and so happy and knew that they were going to get to the final, and then it kind of fizzled out at the end. I mean, look, COVID and all of the injuries on that team put a hole in the dreams quite early on, which was sad to see, because you know what, without some of the niggling injuries and some of the COVID related kind of injuries or out for a few weeks, I think affected Pittsburgh probably more than most teams, which was unfortunate. I mean, especially because that city kind of deserves a win. I mean, you see the fans; they're probably one of the most passionate in the US. So it was sad to see, but I think that the future's bright. I mean, they have lots of good players at their core that I think they're going to hold on to for a long time. And they have some building room if they do get rid of Ben. So, I mean, I'm excited to see whether the man from the Cheeseheads is going to be good over there. Will be a surprise. We'll see how he does against the LA Rams. Because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a hard game against the Rams.
Yeah, Aaron Donald's going to be breathing down his neck the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's scary. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have said that the Steelers have one of the best built rosters in the NFL from top to bottom. But they need to address, okay, so they did address some stuff with their coaching staff. They fired their offensive coordinator, and they fired a couple other coaches, and one retired. There has to be some new blood in there. Pittsburgh is notoriously known for staying in-house with everything. when one person retires, they just promote the next person behind them. The Steelers need to go out there and bring someone in to reinvigorate everything going on. And one person that I've heard that could bring some good offensive change is recently fired Eagles head coach Doug Peterson. So we'll see here. But the Steelers, if Marquise Pouncey retires and Big Ben retires, or they cut him, the Steelers are looking at $50 million that they can pretty much play with. So that's a big time money that they can try and create something else. You know, I kind of put the Heat and the Steelers together, that the Heat don't want to ever tank. They want to just reload. And I think that's the way the Steelers are. They don't really take losing well. So they're gonna do something this offseason to get back to the Super Bowl.
Do you think that'll damage their franchise though? I mean, look, if they go straight for Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he doesn't have long left in his career, and to go big budget on him for a couple of years.
Depends on what they give up. I mean, that's going to be the question. You know, I think someone like Matt Stafford, you're not going to give that much up for, and he's going to provide more of an arm and more of a dynamic offense. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is still the most talented quarterback of all time, and you'd have to give up a good bit for him, but it's still not going to be a lot, because I feel like everything that the Packers have been doing has kind of been pushing Rodgers out, you know, with them drafting that quarterback last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wonder if they're just gonna try to sign, you know, someone like Patrick Mahomes or something.
Yeah, I would love that.
I wonder what a trade deal for Patrick Mahomes would look like right now. It's just like
give up
everyone.
Your entire franchise.
Yeah,
you can have all your draft picks and TJ Watt.
Yeah, you'd probably have to get some of OKC's draft picks from the NBA involved.
You can get Zion Williamson to play football.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think this is going to be an interesting week coming up with the games going on this weekend. You know what? I think that the Chiefs should be a little scared of the Browns. You know, if the Browns are able to come out with the same fire they did against the Steelers, I think it's going to be a tough game. And then we're going to have another tough game with the Bills and the Ravens. You know, those are going to be a couple matchups there that we have to really pay attention to. And then the matchup of the AFC South, or the NFC South, with the Buccaneers and the Saints. You know, do the Saints still have the Bucs number, or are we going to see Tom Brady, possibly head to another Super Bowl?
It's Tom Brady's time, isn't it? I mean, when the show lights come on, that's when he starts firing on all cylinders, and we've seen it for decades now.
That is true. We have seen this for a while now, and I can say I don't want to see it again. I want to see the battle of the All-State quarterbacks with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
Imagine the All-State, State Farm, whatever commercials.
State Farm,
going to come out of it.
Whatever the commercial is, they're
imagine the insurance companies. They're gonna love it.
They're gonna lose their minds. It's gonna be the most insane Super Bowl commercials ever. This is gonna be an interesting weekend for everything. I don't think this is gonna be another weekend where do any of you have any good guess at who's going to win these games? I think we can put a little bit more stock into that. The Chiefs are going to win their matchup, but it's still not going to be an easy game with the Browns. But I think the rest of these games you're looking at, they're going to be some hard fought games, And this is going to be something, this is actually great for the NFL right now,
Oh,
that
definitely.
these games have been so close. And, even though the Steelers got blown out in the first quarter, it still became a game. Probably still the worst out of all the games that we saw, but even the Redskins gave the football team, sorry, the football team gave the Bucs a run for their money.
It's an exciting weekend, and I'm looking at the times of the game, and it's really annoying because I want to watch these games, but obviously with a 5 hour, and if it's on the West Coast, 7 hour difference, it's going to be 7-8 hour difference. It's going to be difficult to watch, so I'm gonna have to watch the highlights. But I think I'm going to sneak in the Ravens and the Bills game. I think I can get that in before bed. But yeah, honestly, I can't wait to watch the highlights on Monday morning. I mean, there's some massive games going on. I mean, the Rams Packers game. I mean, maybe at the start of the season, we probably may have not considered that a good game, but quite frankly, it's going to be probably one of the best operating quarterbacks against one of the best defensive setups in the league. So, I mean, it's going to be a chess match for the entire game. And it's going to be fun to watch. And I think if you love football, I think that's probably one of your favorite games of the weekend, just to see how that one unfolds.
Yeah, I think that's going to be that, and the Saints Bucks matchups, I think, are going to be the most interesting ones out of them all. But
Yeah.
I think if you're a football fan, this is some prime time stuff going on right now, and you're just
This
not
is
going to
what
miss it.
this is what makes the NFL the best professional football league. You know,
Yeah, it does. It's definitely
that
better than the Japanese American Football League.
right. I mean that, and the fact that it's the only one, really.
Yeah.
But if but it is exciting. I mean, and the NFL, I think the NFL was kind of wondering, okay, what are we going to do here when the Chiefs established themselves as just like this ridiculously talented franchise that seems to be set up for years to come. But everyone around them is very close in talent. So there's not that it's not boring. It's not like the NBA when you absolutely knew the two teams that were going to make it, Warriors, Cavs, every season. So the NFL is probably, I mean, they're probably pretty happy with where they're at right now.
They have to be ecstatic, especially with the way that they couldn't ask for a better time to have all their games be ridiculously close than during COVID.
Yeah, 100%.
That's
Sure,
some,
subscriptions and views have skyrocketed. I mean, if there were boring games, you could see these companies struggling for revenue, because I think football, if it's kind of a slow and there's not much scoring going on and people are just not, they're offbeat, I think it's a hard watch. And I think lots of people couldn't justify sitting there for 2.5 hours to watch a game. But any of these games in this weekend and any of the past weekends, and you both can agree with me, I'm sure, the games snap your fingers, it's over, because it's so exciting and you're in it. And it's been honestly strangely one of the best years for viewership, which is odd.
Yeah, and you think about it, like last weekend, the game that really you could snap your fingers and it was over was that Steelers game, when after about 5 minutes, the game was pretty much put to bed and the Steelers knew they were going to lose. But no,
Ben will cry. Ben will cry.
In all seriousness, yeah. Because the games mostly are so competitive and the teams aren't separated by that much just because of the nature of the season itself. Yeah, like games fly by and they're entertainment, from start to finish.
And you know what I think that comes down to? I think that's a credit to the college and draft system, quite frankly, because I mean, you look at these other sports in the world, and I mean, personally, I think real football is it one of the best sports in the world, and the Premier League is one of the best leagues in the world. But you look around the world, especially at football, you see these massive teams that have been around for hundreds of years. I mean, they have a war chest of billions of pounds, dollars, euros, where they can throw at Neymar's and Ronaldo's and pay them 300 million to come over, pay them whatever they want, and then they can make these superstar teams like PSG that just never lose. I think the amazing thing about NFL is you can be on top and you can slide down quite quickly just with a few duff draft picks and a few bad trades. And I think this year especially, you're seeing these draft picks are going to all these different teams, and these superstars are arising. And these draft picks from the second round, third round, I think are all coming up and kind of igniting the league. And I think that's why it's so diverse and so entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that every system for professional sports in America kind of run on that. But yeah, it's something that keeps everyone on their toes because, you know, like the Raiders with their blunder with Jamarcus Russell. I mean, there's those busts that you're just if you like have a bust in one of those situations, yeah, it's gonna hurt you for a while. And that's something I think that the Steelers do really well at is making sure that they draft really well. The only thing they can't draft really well is cornerbacks. So we'll see if they can address that in the off season. But I think we've had a pretty good day here, boys. Tolly, we're glad you could join us a little late. We know the demands of your job make it tough to be around, but we appreciate you having you on.
Yeah, we know leading a brothel isn't easy.
No, I have to keep these ladies and gentlemen happy. I mean, it's quite a difficult business.
It's customer service at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But that was cool having Chad on. He was definitely a nice guest having on. And hey, maybe in a couple of years, if we're still going, we'll be talking to his brother.
Yeah. I wonder if he hits sluggers as well.
He's also a pitcher, so I doubt that.
So I'm sure he swings as hard as he can when he gets the chance.
We need some dingers on here.
He's taking some of those daddy hacks.
Yeah. I've never heard of that before, but it sounds illicit. It sounds like it's going to be blacklisted.
Yeah, we might be getting demonetized from the 1 cent we make per show.
Definitely.
All right, guys. Well, hey, fans, make sure that if you want any of this gear, which we're finally all wearing today, put something down in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see everything that we produce, and make sure you have a good rest of your day.
Goodbye.
You too, Ben.